So did that fill you with a sense of nostalgia? Because I think that's what Sagreras was thinking when he wrote this, because he titled it Nostalgia. So this is from the Opus 19 of Julio Sagreras, a great Argentinian composer in the Spanish flavor. And in this video, we are going to just go through this piece in all sorts of ways. So if you'd like to play it, then you'll have tons of things to think about as you're practicing it, as you're learning it and refining it. And then also, if you're not even going to play it, then hopefully you'll pick up some things that you can use in whatever pieces you are playing. Well, if you'd like to get the music for this, we have this for you in our Spanish book. It's a free download if you would like it, and it's got tabs if you're a tab lover, and it's also got standard notation. In the book, there's also a link to a full version that is just notation only if you don't want the tabs. They do take up a lot of space on the page. So if you'd like to do that, it's also got 29 other beautiful Spanish pieces that you can peruse through from beginner all the way to the lower intermediate zone. So if you would like to get this music, that is how to do it. Just find the link below. So now let's get down and dirty with nostalgia. So just looking at it, here we have our full score. This is the full piece of music. And whenever we first open up a piece of music, we can just look at some of the main ideas. So first off, we have 1 sharp. We're in 4/4. That's 4 beats per measure. And we have 1 sharp. So we're in the key of either G major or E minor. We'll talk more about that in just a second. We also can just glance through. We see this word right here, fine, fine. And this just means that this is where the end of the piece is. And so you can also see right next to it, there's a double bar. It's probably very small on your screen, but you can trust me that there is one there. And this just means whenever we see that, that will come back to the beginning later on, right here, da capo el fine. We'll come back, we'll play through all the way to here, come then back to the beginning, and then go until we hit this fine, and that's where the piece ends. So then with that information, we can pretty much know that we've got a big A section, we've got a big B section here, and then we come back into the A again. So then our final form is A, B, A. And this is just good to know because that way you can keep it in your head where you are in the piece. It's your 30,000 foot view from the plane window of how the land is organized. Also looking at it from this zone, we can see these brackets down here as well. Here they are again. These are bar chords, and so we have some partial bars. There's no big burly gripping bar chords that you'll need to keep for long periods of time in this, but we do use some slight bars for parts of it, just for a couple bars here and there. And so if that's something that you're working on, well then this will be great practice. Great, so now let's get down to the ground level. Let's look at what we're actually doing in this piece. So we're starting off here, and if you just look at this writing, and then we all of a sudden have this big high note. So we have a couple of bars of boom, chuck, 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 right? Very common accompaniment pattern for these first 2 bars. And then all of a sudden we have these up stems, notes, and this high melody line. And also you can tell by the writing now we have half notes and dotted notes and all kind of different notes, while this keeps going on down below. So down here we still have our boom, chuck, chuck, chuck going on, right? So then this gives us a lot of information about this piece and the flavor of this piece. So this, we're setting it up for the first 2 bars, and then it keeps going. So it's really important to recognize that it's not just one thing happening, it's at least 2 things happening. We have this boom, chuck, chuck, chuck. That's one big thing. And really you could split that into bass and interior, but really let's just call it a boom, chuck, chuck, chuck. And then we have this melody that comes in on the top. So here's your challenge. The challenge is to keep those 2 things as 2 things and not meld them into one thing. And this you can do in every single piece you play, just about anything that has a chords and a melody going on at the same time. This skill does so much to give your music this 3-dimensional effect where there's more than one person playing. And so if you would like to work on that skill, which is such a good skill, and we'll talk about exactly how to do it, this is a great piece for that because it is throughout this entire piece, besides some scale licks, this is happening a lot. So let's look at it. So as you practice, the best way to do this with your hand is to move from the big knuckle. We talk a lot about this in the Woodshed program. Move from the big knuckle and just close the hand gently into your palm, just like this. Tip joint soft, don't hook it. We're not grabbing the strings like this. Just gently push with the big knuckle. And you might get a scraping sound on that wound string. It's okay, don't worry about it. And just practice with that and listen to all the fingers. Listen like crazy and just try to keep this very soft in your hand and make it to where there's no note popping out. It's just a chord. You couldn't sing it. So ideally, no notes are popping out. So then we've got that. That's what we want to have happening in the accompaniment voices all the time. And we want them quiet because we need the melody to ride on top of it. So this is what this is doing. It is quiet and it is even. Now we have the melody. These melody notes then, and this first measure actually has it all. We have the different combinations. We have a melody note with a bass. And this is normally pretty easy to make obvious because there's such a wide space between the high note and the very low note. So normally that's not a problem. Then we have this, let's just take this back one right here. Then we have it offset to where the accompaniment plays and then the melody note plays. That's pretty easy as well, so long as you keep the accompaniment voice, the chunk, as long as you keep that quiet. If you keep that quiet, you're golden. Very easy to bring out the top voice if you keep that middle voice quiet. Now we have the real issue here, and that real issue is this one right here. We have a melody note and the accompaniment notes at the same time. And so the danger here is that the middle voices will overpower the top note and will lose the sense of the melody so that you end up with this. I can't even do it now. To where the middle voice is so loud that it's not really clear what's melody and what's not. That's the challenge. And so what we want it to be is very clear melody, very clear accompaniment. And each of them stay that way even though they're playing at the same time. The way to do that. And this is a technique issue. So it's musical, but everything musical is actually a technique issue because your hands have to do it. And so this is something that you can practice on a regular basis. So here's how you do it. So we were talking about how we can just close the hand from the big knuckle, right? Well, we're gonna still do that. So we don't want to tense up and do anything crazy. We're not just going to try to play it louder because that'll bring a lot of tension into the hand. Instead, keeping a nice soft hand, what you do is you just let that finger come out just a little bit further than the other finger so it bites a little bit more string. That's all. And then you just gently close your hand. Don't try to play that note louder. Just still close your hand. And because it's grabbing more string than the other ones, it will be louder. You can play with this with the middle finger and the lower finger. I'm not trying to play those louder. You just stick it out a little bit more. And yes, it'll take a little bit of practice to get this, but if you keep the idea that this is very easy, it's very easy in your hand, it's easeful in the fingers, and while it might not be completely, you might not ace it in the very first minute, it ultimately is something that you can do with ease, and it will make all of your music so much more beautiful and flowing. So when you're practicing it, just keep that in mind, even if it doesn't feel so easy in the moment. And so then here we have that. So then we have, for this measure, we have the bass and melody together. And then we have our balance thing here. This is called balance, chord balance. We have that melody note higher where we stick that finger out a little bit more. And then quiet. And then, so quiet accompaniment and then louder melody note. And then we have our bass note again. So that measure wraps up the right hand challenge for 90% of this entire piece. If you can get this measure and you can get it like this, you can bring this to the rest of the piece and it will just be stunning. All right, in addition to these chords and melody type of textures that are going on, we also have these little scale passages. And so let's just look at one of these as well. So here we have measure 8. I'm just gonna look from here to here. When you're practicing these, just a quick tip, always cross the bar line. So notice I didn't go to right here. Instead, I went one note over the bar line. You always want to do that way because that's what sounds best. All right, now this little scale passage, it's a lot of stuff across the strings. So, the first thing to do whenever you see this type of writing is to actually figure out your right hand fingering and write it on your score. Here we're gonna start with, I'm gonna start with the M, and then, so just go through it and figure it out. I'm not gonna give you every single fingering for this piece, but as you're playing it, if you're at the level of playing this piece, you can figure it out. I have all faith in you. And so write it in your score. Actually write it in there. If you're just working off of your computer, then find some way to print it or use your preview thing and actually make notes on it. Figure out how you can actually write it on your score. I like a pencil above all else, but you know, it's hard to erase the pencil scratches off of your computer screen. So figure out the way that's best for you. Next up, in the middle of this thing, we have this big high note. I would not let this note stand out. It's not a big arrival moment. It's actually just like a quarter of the way through this little scale passage. It's in the middle of the bar. Don't accent it. You're gonna want to because it's also a slur, and so you're gonna wanna go, don't do it. Just back off that note and just think, okay, I'm just in a flowing line here. This is not a big moment. Don't let that note pop out. Next thing, whenever you're playing this type of work, one of my teachers called it running work. The notes are just going up and down. So this is running work. If you have special notes, take note of them. So in here we have, you can just look, it's the one with the accidentals. We have this A sharp here. There it is again. And here we have a D sharp. So these are notes that are outside the normal key. And there's a reason why they exist. So really, what we're seeing here is this is like an ornament. It's like a trill. And we do the exact same thing here. And so for that, when you have these special notes, we want to just lean into the ugly note. Don't back off of them. Don't understate them. Lean into them. They are the beauty marks of the music. And so with this, the little ornament style, lean into the ugly note. Same thing here, what we have, this one, D sharp, is actually the big leading tone to the E. So it's leading there. So I like to lean into that one and let it sustain over that as well when playing that, because it really leads us back home to this point right here. All of this, whenever we have all this, everything from here is getting us to that E. The whole point of all of this lick is to get us back there. Tension, 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 release. And so all that we're doing through there is to get us there. So think about that as you're doing it. It's not a big special moment in itself. This is utilitarian writing to get us back to that point. It's lovely, but it has a purpose. Great. And so then that brings us to the end of the first section. Now we go into the second section. The second section is in the key of G major. So we start off the whole song in E minor, And then the second part goes to the key of G major, which is called the relative major. It has all the same notes as E minor. They share that language, but the E minor is a nice dark minor sound and the G major is a nice happy major sound. And so it's really common in pieces for the middle section to go back and forth one to the other. It's a common juxtaposition there. So here we are in G major, and we go through much of the same type of writing for the first part of this, with the melody and the accompaniment and the boom, chuck, chuck, chuck and everything. Well, then we have something different, and that starts here at measure 17, let's say. We start to do something different. So we have this. This is just a technical thing I want to mention for you here. When you do this, we have this jump because you have this 3 finger is right here doing your boom, chuck, chuck. And then we need it all the way down here. And it's very easy to make a hop. That spot right there. Kind of need to move fast for that. One of the ways, and you should be able to move fast, ideally practice so that you can, but I'm going to offer you what's called a facilitation, and that is just something you can do to smooth over the technical challenges. We don't want to use a facilitation unless we really have to. Ideally, we can just practice and actually build the skill that's needed instead of kind of doing something to cover up the fact that we can't do the skill. But in this case, I'm just going to give this to you. And so here, what we have, go ahead and slide. You have your bar already. Give a slight, if you just slide down, instead of lifting the first finger, it'll give you the time and it'll cover the space to get that third finger over. So it ends up sounding like this. Ba-da. It covers the space and it makes it all sound very legato, smooth and connected. And so really that's the danger whenever you're doing this. We don't want to break the note right before the final note of the little phrase, which is that G. We want to connect it. And so in this case, sliding is your key. So that's just a little facilitation for you. Great, so now at this point, we enter into a different type of writing, and that's this melody note. We have this repeated note right here, so that we're chuck, chuck, chuck. But now we have it. We have this blurred line between the accompaniment, which is our boom, chuck, chuck, and the melody. And we're actually have stems up for all of it. And so we don't want to just bang this out. We have a rule in dynamics, which is swells and fades. Whenever you have a repeating note, ideally you want it to get louder. Now, there are all kind of little nuances, like if it lands, if the melody lands and then something happens, then you might accent the first one or something. It doesn't matter. In this case, we can start it quiet and get it louder. So that's one thing here. We can also go back to our boom chuck chuck and think about there not being a loud melody note here. There is no melody for the first couple, so it's just all quiet. And then we can start to slowly get louder on the upper voice. And it just gives this kind of a blooming sound. Same thing there. Always keeping the non-melody notes, like this one, really, really quiet. So repeated notes get louder. As I'm talking about this, you might be thinking, well, I'm just happy to get the notes. I don't even care about any of that. However, if you take this into your playing of it and you do it just a little bit, it's going to make it sound better and it's going to be great fun, because this is really nurturing the piece. This is really fun stuff to practice. Much more so than just getting the notes and then bouncing to another piece and getting the notes of that. Instead, you can spend time with it and really nurture. I don't know who said it. I think they were talking more about animals, but anything that you nurture and feed over time, you end up loving it. And I know that because I feed some stray cats across the way, and I find myself really loving those cats, even though I don't want to accept responsibility and pull them into my house. But I love those cats, and it's because of that. And this piece also, you could think, oh, it's just a small little piece, but in the practicing of it and in the working through it, I absolutely love this piece. And I think that it'll be the same way for you as well. All right, last thing we'll talk about here is this wraparound, the end of the B section. It's a really important section. It is the climax of the whole piece, is this, which is oftentimes the case when we have this A, B, A. The end of the B section is the big moment of tension, and then we bring it back home and repeat the A section again. So the temptation is going to be to wind this thing down and get slower and slower towards the end. Boom. Bring it to a full stop right here, and then start over at the beginning. Here's the problem with that. With this piece, what we're coming back to, our A section, is it's kind of wimpy. It's not very long. And so if you make a big deal out of getting to the end of this, then it's like pulling somebody over and saying, you've got to see this, you've got to see this. And then you show them, and it's like a little piece of gravel you got out of the parking lot or something. It's just not very exciting. It's something that they've seen before. Or if you've ever seen a comedian or somebody telling a joke and they take a really long time to wind it up, but you've already heard the joke. And so you're like, just get on with it and just get to the punchline already, because this wind up isn't really doing it for me. Same type of thing here. If we do that here, then it comes back around and we've only got 15 seconds worth of music to present after that. So we don't want to. So instead, we can back this up. And I've talked about this in other places about backing up the retard, but it works really well. I learned this from a wonderful concert pianist. So here we have, let me just go from here. So this is what I do. And it is definitely not the only way to do it, but I like it, and I've done it different ways. From here, measure 23, I start to retard and get louder. Because we have a repeating melody note, which is this high E on the top. And this is the big moment right here, is the big moment of the slowest moment is boom right here. And then you accelerate back up steady and just move right on through to the end, wrap around to the beginning and keep going. I mean, you can listen to my playing of it and see what you think and see if you like it, and then play it other ways. I think it's really effective. And then very quiet. And then right in time. Don't slow down. Boom. It just makes sense to the listener in that way, and it keeps things moving. We don't want to bog things down. Instead, we want to create this forward momentum in this forward journey. And so in this case, I would back up the retard to make it kind of culminating right at measure 24. And then accelerate back up through the scale, back in tempo, a tempo right here, and then just move right on through it. Easy peasy. So there you have it. A few ideas about Sagreras' nostalgia. Again, if you would like to get this sheet music, and I hope that you do and look at it, because it's such a great little piece, and I think that it would fit incredibly well in whatever set of music you're playing. If you would like to play it, you can get the music. You can find the link below. This is our big book of Spanish tunes, and there are 30 Spanish pieces. They're really fun, and my teammates over at Classical Guitar Shed and I put a lot of work into choosing these pieces and getting them all set up and arranged in a particular order for it. It's mostly from easiest to hardest within it. You could argue a few different ways, but we finally had to stop arguing and just put it in an order. So if you would like to download it, I think you'll really enjoy it. It's wonderful pieces of music. So get that. And if you do practice this, I hope that these tips have been helpful and just give you something to think about. also with the other pieces that you're playing. These skills that we've talked about are really universal. The dynamics and the way that we've treated different things, the way we've approached different things in this video, they really work for most pieces of music that you're going to play. So I hope that that's helpful to you and that you enjoy this. All right, with that, turn off your computer or your phone and go practice. All right, see you soon. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.